Hey, everybody. It is podcast number 4. There's a bunch of stuff that has happened this week, and we are going to tear into some serious issues this week, aren't we, Greg?
What's that?
This isn't another fishing show. This is another fishing show.
Hello. It's podcast number 4, another fishing show. It is late. We are in the basement. There's a blizzard coming tomorrow. It's typical Minnesota late season. And a lot has happened since the last time we've seen you.
Pete, check it out. I've got the In Fisherman Book of Secrets.
You can see there's actually a compass symbol on that book, which represents we have an important book.
Yeah, we have an important book and we have an important podcast.
Yes, and it's leather bound.
Yeah, you may notice already that there is no GoPro camera right here getting my face on this podcast. If you're listening audio, of course, you don't know that. But if you're watching the podcast, there's only one GoPro. And I'm actually happy about that because this side of my face has my missing tooth.
And we had spoken about this last week, the amount of hurdles you have to jump over when you're trying to film anything. And, of course, one of our GoPros died. So, unfortunately, to those of you watching, you are going to be lacking a side profile of Greg's face, which I'm sure all the ladies are tuning out as we speak.
Well, you bring up a great point because if you want to get into video production, the first thing you really got to understand is that there are about 1 billion things that are going to go wrong. Okay, when you see the finished product, you're kind of like, oh gosh, that's amazing. It looks easy, you know. Oh no. I've been doing this for several years, and it's a giant pain in the ass.
It's Murphy's Law.
Yeah, for sure.
If it can go wrong, it will go wrong, and it went wrong tonight.
But we're muddling through.
Yes,
and we've got the In Fisherman Book of Secrets here, and we're using this book. That probably dates us. Talking about the In Fisherman Book of Secrets.
Fine. I actually have that right in this closet here.
But this book here is our topics for tonight that we're going to discuss. So we're going to get right into it. Let me open this.
We had a pretty interesting week on the water, didn't we?
Yeah, so we went sturgeon fishing on the St. Croix River.
Yeah, and if we haven't really discussed the goings-on of the sturgeon fishing scene.
Right.
We have some videos up on YouTube of... It was a live stream that sort of we edited down where there was a couple of them, right? A couple different live streams.
I think we got 4 live streams.
Yeah, and
3 or 4.
And we caught
live streams for sturgeon.
I caught my biggest fish in my life, and then went back the next week and caught the biggest fish of my life. So the bizarre part about the sturgeon in Minnesota, you normally think of sturgeon as northern.
It's a lake sturgeon.
Sturgeon. Yeah. Yep, not shovel nose. There's shovel nose in the rivers around here, but they're not these monsters.
Not white sturgeon.
Right.
These are lake sturgeon.
Lake sturgeon, but still can grow to 150 pounds and 70, 80 inches, like these insane.
Is that how big they can get? 100 how many pounds?
I think 150 is like the peak. But
okay. I mean, that's a big fish.
I might be speaking out of turn on that, but I'm pretty sure.
It's a big fish.
And they can live to be in a crazy age, too, whatever.
Oh, Pete, yeah, sorry. There's a topic I just thought of. I don't mean to cut you off. This is very important, though. We'll talk about it next after this.
Okay, good. Think out loud like that. That works well. And then, so we have always wanted to go sturgeon fishing, and you think of sturgeon as a northern Wisconsin, northern Minnesota, Rainy River, Lake of the Woods, some of the bigger lakes around northern Minnesota, you'll find these fish. But they're always hard to target. They're always hard to catch with regularity. Especially in lakes. In rivers, you have a little bit better chance of isolating these fish and finding them. So we had been hearing a buzz about the St. Croix River. The St. Croix flows from almost Lake Superior, essentially down to Minneapolis, St. Paul, not directly into the city, but close to. And sturgeon fishing has been banned there for, 40, 50 years, something like that.
I have no idea.
Actually,
I don't know.
They used to have a 2-week season. I think it was a catch and release season that they tested this out, and people were catching sturgeon, and it turned into a thing. And now they're opening at the beginning of September. Is that where it is? I think
beginning of it's sometime in September,
and it goes all the way through next week, which
March
is
1st. It's done.
March 1st. So it's catch and release. You can buy a $5 tag for them. We're catch and release guys, so we're not familiar with wanting to keep one. And anyway, we've been turned on to this partially through Northwoods Angling. There's an awesome sturgeon bite going on in the St. Croix River. So we were able to get out on the water with Northwoods Angling, and who else was with us?
This guy named Pete Maina. And Pete Maina is a professional musky angler, and I got to tell you, that is such a rare thing, you know what I'm saying, to be a professional musky angler. It's rare just to be a professional fisherman in general. We talked about this at the last podcast. This guy's a professional musky angler. I've been working with him for many years. He's a great guy. He decided to come out with us.
And he's a well-known TV personality. Like, what's
Yes.
some of Pete's background as far as...
So how I got to work with him is I worked with him on The Next Bite. So the Next Bite television show, that's, I shot a ton for them. And then also he's done a ton of production, a ton of shows for John Gillespie,
Right.
Woods and Waters.
Was he associated with In Fisherman at some point?
I'm sure he's probably done worked with him, but
shows.
Not really associated.
Right. And he's a northern Wisconsin guy.
Hayward, Wisconsin. Yeah.
Right. Originally, his dad moved him from Chicago. He was telling us the story. He was guiding when he was 11 years old, if you can imagine.
Yeah, that's an incredible story.
Pardon me, being an 11-year-old guide. So he got this amazing life. So anyway, Greg has known him for some time, and he kind of got word that the sturgeon thing's going out on the St. Croix.
Yeah, I was telling, Pete is all about big fish. He loves to musky fish, but he also likes to catch big fish.
Right.
So I was like, dude, you got to come out and check out this sturgeon thing going on the St. Croix River, because it's not far from Hayward. So it's not that far of a distance for him to drive, and then it's kind of a good meeting point for us.
Right. And again, I can't stress how weird it is that you can be that far south in Minnesota, because you're really getting into the prairie of Minnesota. Where we're catching these fish is not like in the Northwoods of Minnesota and Lake Country like you'd imagine. It's a federally protected scenic river. There's only like 8 of them in the country.
Yeah.
So it's protected all the way down from the north part of it all the way to where it meets the Mississippi. There's a confluence near Prescott, Wisconsin. So
Are we losing people right now when you talk about like federally protected waters?
I hope not, because it created that whole scene there.
Pete is a very emotional guy, and he's very touchy-feely at times. I think that's going to really touch a chord with some of our audience. There's going to be a number of people that are going to be like, this guy, man, oh my God, he's always so mushy.
Well, see, I thought you meant touch a chord, like really touch people's hearts.
No. There's going to be a certain amount of our audience that's really going to like that.
Right.
I'm just hoping it's more of those people than less of those people.
Okay.
You understand what I'm saying?
And I would argue, pointing out that a federally protected scenic waterway that created an awesome sturgeon fishery is not really an emotional subject.
Okay.
So, but
but
going beyond that,
I noticed too, like you talk a lot about like what we do as an art form as well.
as far as what?
That's also kind of a touchy-feely comment. Like we're doing, and it's listen.
Well, I don't even know what you're
I
talking
get
about.
that. Well, you say like what our feature episodes, for example, are like an art form.
Yeah.
I've noticed it because here's the thing: when you edit, I edit a lot of Pete, and I'm noticing certain like things that are said often. And you've said it numerous times that what we're doing is an art form, which I think is beautiful.
Do you consider?
I don't know that it is an art form.
You don't?
No. I think it's just two dudes making silly content.
Yeah, I don't think you're giving yourself enough credit.
Yes,
on that one.
it's high art then.
He just edited down an amazing Eelpout episode, which just went up yesterday. It's hilarious.
We'll get to that. I didn't mean to. I'm razzing you a little bit.
I'm just saying we're getting back there, but it's a piece of art. There's no other way to look at it.
Well, I appreciate that, but
yeah.
This is a team effort. Let's get back to the sturgeon story.
Okay. So anyway, I'm just pointing out the river is rare down here that you have clean water, and because it's a protected waterway, the water is clean enough to hold a huge sturgeon population.
Exactly, and the fact is it's so unique. The fact that it's you're right near the metro, the Twin Cities, St. Paul, Minneapolis.
It's literally in the runway zone. You see the big planes rolling in all day.
Yeah, we thought we saw a UFO
right on a live stream. Yeah,
on a live stream. It was just a plane on approach.
And you'll have to pardon our coughing, because this is the time in Minnesota where you're just relentlessly sick and not quite getting over it. So
yeah, that's funny, because I'm just about to get rid of this pneumonia cough.
But every 45 minutes, you're just like...
But Pete's got the window open right now.
Oh, yeah.
Because this light over here is so hot that, you know, we have an old style light, new style light over here. This old style light is like baking us like an oven.
It's cooking. Yeah, I'm getting a sunburn here.
But there is a cold Minnesota breeze coming in from that window over here. But we're going to manage.
But we digress.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I have ADD. So yes, this fishery, this sturgeon fishery, is incredible. We feel very fortunate that we have it so close by, and honestly, we hadn't really been exploiting it like we should have. I mean, we just started doing it in the fall.
We talked about it for 5 years. Like, there's sturgeon over there, but we didn't really know what to do. And it's not rocket science. It's just patience, and like any kind of fishing, but it's similar to catfishing in a lot of ways.
So the amazing thing about this river is that it's got a great population of lake sturgeon in it. And we tapped into that in the fall. You know, November, we really started getting after it with success. And then, you know, we learned through Northwoods angling that you can catch them through the ice. And that's a really unique thing, okay? It's so unique that what it does is it attracts people from distances to come and do it. And by people, I'm talking about the Guggen Squad.
Dun, dun, dun.
And some people might be asking, who in the hell is the Guggen Squad?
I was asking that like 2 weeks ago.
You're right. So there's a whole new world happening, Pete. A whole new world that we were just, I don't know what we were doing. We weren't paying attention.
We were too old to tune it in.
Yeah, but in 2011, 2012... these young kids were on the YouTube, and we thought the YouTube was just for like posting, you know, everybody says cat videos. It's a cliche, but kind of.
Yeah.
You know?
They showed that they could use their computer machines and create money and popularity.
The crazy thing is these kids, so this, I would say 5 or 6.
Sharp kids. And when we say kids, at the time they probably started out.
I don't mean that in a demeaning way, but they were kids when they started.
Right now, they're all in their 20s. They're all dropping out of college because they're making a living.
It's a great
on YouTube.
It's what's amazing to me is that you don't. I've not seen this story really in mainstream.
No,
like television, like this story told. It's a great story. So you've got this group of kids that don't even necessarily know each other. They're throughout the country, and they're just documenting with like a GoPro chesty their fishing adventures, and they're posting it on YouTube, thinking nothing of it. They just like putting their videos on YouTube.
Right.
And they start growing an audience, right? And then YouTube really starts kind of promoting their stuff. Something happens around like 2011, 2012, where these fishing channels, like YouTube, started really promoting these guys.
Right.
And I heard one story, this one rod, one reel guy who actually is no longer a part of the Guggen Squad, I'm sorry to say.
Oh, no. Is there a story there?
There is. You know, I want to get that story one day, because I'm sure it's very controversial.
Oh, you don't know it. But
I don't.
You just know there is
one
a
rod,
story.
one reel didn't want to be in the Guggen Squad anymore. I feel there's probably was some kind of tension there.
Right.
So he's like, no, I'll take my 800,000 subscribers and just do my own thing. You can do the Guggen thing. I don't know what happened, but anyway, we're digressing. So this group of kids had these channels throughout the country. They were just posting stuff. They didn't know that YouTube was going to explode. And that's what happened in like 2011, 2012. Their channels exploded. One rod, one reel went from 2000. I think it was actually in 2015 or 2014. Keep in mind, at that time, they had already amassed a ton of videos just posted on YouTube.
Daily videos.
Daily video, and it's something happened with the YouTube algorithm. I think it was in like around 2013 or 14 or 15, something around there. Okay. I can't be more specific than that, unfortunately. I should have researched before this podcast.
Close enough.
In 1 year, he went from 2,000 subscribers to the end of the year, he had 100,000 subscribers.
Right. And for those of you who don't understand the importance of subscribers in YouTube's, it's essentially as important as ratings for a television show. You have a built-in audience that when you put up a video, they're going to watch it. YouTube is tracking watch time, and they're paying attention to what people are seeing, how long they're seeing it, and essentially how many people are seeing commercials that everyone's trying to get up in front of it, which is how you make money. And it kind of revolutionized the way people ingested fishing material.
Yep.
Now, there is an age gap there because for older people, we grew up watching different types of shows, well-produced shows,
yep.
lots of sponsorships. It was completely different and almost disorientating if you're used to that to watch.
There's no such word as disorientating.
Are you sure?
There's no. It was disorienting. It's orientate is not a word. It's it sounds like it's not right. It's orienting.
Let me try it again.
Okay.
It's almost confusing if you're used to watching videos as an old person with the way you ingested these fishing shows back in the day. Now, when you see what's going on, it seemed to not make sense initially to me because kids are absorbing this type of information in a different way. And a lot of them never leave their living room, a lot of the viewers. They're fascinated just by the novelty of people going out trying to catch fish.
Is that true?
There's a lot to it.
There's people that are not getting out and actually fishing watching this stuff?
Alex, who we haven't talked about yet, I
guess.
Yeah,
we're kind of putting the cart before the horse here.
But he made this point, but we're getting to the point of one of the kids that was with us was...
Alex Peric.
Right, so we had
apbassing.
Pete Maina showed up. Alex Peric, who is from Chicago and travels all over the country, and does exactly, he's part of the Guggen Squad. He even explained the Guggen Squad. I don't remember what the name came from. Do you remember what he said?
What it means is that, these guys aren't professionals. They never said that they were professional fishermen, that they are experts on anything. That the Guggen term is kind of like not just kind of goofy fishermen.
Right.
It's kind of how I take it.
Right.
Which I consider us kind of Guggens.
Yeah, we are. We're like elder Guggens.
We're elder Guggens. Yeah. Yeah. Cheers to that. So the interesting thing is, we'll come back to that YouTube discussion because it's important. It's super interesting. But what happened is, and you started the story, we got Northwoods Angling, we got Pete Maina, and we got Alex Peric. And Alex Peric had already worked with Northwoods Angling. And we did a shoot on the St. Croix River for sturgeon. Okay? And it was really, really cool. Unfortunately, we're going to post this video. Unfortunately, the fishing was pretty tough.
Right.
But it was amazing. First of all, I'm Pete Maina is a buddy of mine. We worked together a ton. It's always awesome. I was giddy that day. You may have been able to tell. I was so giddy because Pete is one of my top friends. I mean, I hate saying, okay, a best friend in this kind of, rank. Pete Wagner is what I'm talking about here, okay? But Pete Maina is also a very, very good friend of mine, okay? And for both of these guys to be, ice fishing with them.
You mean Alex and Pete Maina, right? Is that
no,
what
I'm saying Pete. What's going on right now?
Kidding.
Yeah. So Pete Wagner and Pete Maina are two of my favorite people. Really, seriously, some of my favorite people on the planet.
It was so cool.
And to be in an ice shack and ice fishing and telling stories and waiting for a sturgeon to bite. To me, people can talk about wanting to go to the Bahamas or something. That to me is pretty much the ideal spot.
It was so great. Like, for me, that was the first time I'd ever met Pete. I'd only known Pete through Greg as far as stories, and we tried to set up a shoot earlier in the year, and everything got thrown off. So this was my first time meeting Pete, and I only knew him as a TV personality, which is kind of, and I always loved Pete because I could just tell that he reads through the camera the same way he would be in front of you. Like, he just feels like a real person when you watch him.
He's totally honest, dude.
Right.
That's
and a brilliant fisherman, like a go-getter,
totally.
you know.
So I had a lot of conversations with him before this shoot.
Right.
And he was so keyed up on, okay, just everything about these sturgeon and how to catch them. And Pete is eaten up with fishing. I mean, he's eaten up with musky fishing, and he's a perfectionist, and he's just, it consumes him.
He came in with ideas, you know.
Oh yeah,
and part of it was to kind of introduce the old school TV guys to the new school sort of YouTube guys. It was kind of a summit of, and Alex knew who Pete was. I mean, you just know who Pete is if you're into fishing.
Yeah. So here's the thing: Alex has 375,000 subscribers, something like that. I'm sure he just got 1,000 subscribers today. So but
right now he's blowing up.
Yeah, it's really cool to see. Okay, Maina, who is an established television fishing personality, and then Alex Peric, who is this YouTube fishing phenom. And to see them, together,
right?
And just, I mean. So that's what we did. We did a shoot. We did a shoot with these guys. The fishing wasn't the greatest. You'll see the video. It's going to be edited here in the next couple of weeks, but check it out. It's going to be on Northwoods Angling first, and then we'll be able to upload our version. But what's exciting about it is that I believe this 100% is that you don't have to necessarily. It's great if you can catch a big fish,
right?
I mean, everybody loves a big fish, but you can still have an entertaining episode without a big fish and something worth watching. It's something very fun. I mean, I think there's a lot of funny stuff that happened. There's one thing in particular that I think Pete is such a smart ass, Pete Wagner. And I'm gonna end the video with this certain thing that Wagner did. I'm not gonna say any more.
Well, actually, there's two moments you would like to use. One is me being entertaining, and then the other one was me drinking enough summits where I was unable to close out the video with a proper use of the English language.
Yeah, I noticed. I looked at that footage and I noticed the audio was it was actually overmodulated.
Oh, good. That's great.
Yeah, so I don't know whether I'm going to use it or not.
Was it overmodulated when you did it?
Yeah, the whole thing is. I don't know how I'm going to. I think there's different ways that this can be ended, but that was really funny because you couldn't get your act together.
I had to take my mic off and give it to you.
Because he was drunk. Pete was drunk.
I wasn't drunk.
Yes, he was. The whole time
I was tipsy.
During this whole sturgeon shoot, he wasn't taking any of it seriously.
By the way,
he has a world famous musky fisherman in the ice tent. That's what we're calling him now, an ice tent.
That's fine. Yeah.
And Alex Peric, who's this world famous YouTube star. And Pete's just getting drunk in the corner.
And all I could think about was, I've been here 6 hours and I haven't even got to pick up a rod and try and set a hook. So that was where my drinking got induced. But
so he tries to do a conclusion, with everybody.
Right. And I had done one. I did one earlier in the night. Was I overmodulated for that one?
No, you're good on that one.
Because
what
there was like 8 people next to me when I did that.
What was happening is that the mic batteries were dying. I'm pretty sure. And we
were all dying a little bit at that point.
Yeah, we were.
It was like 1 in the morning.
Really late.
Yeah.
It's still a really. I like disasters. I actually think disasters are better video.
Absolutely.
It wasn't necessarily a disaster. It wasn't a disaster. It was a great night, but the fishing wasn't the greatest. But the camaraderie,
right.
Or camaraderie.
Again, me getting to meet Pete was just great.
Yeah.
Like, I was on cloud 9. And same with the Northwoods guy. Like, when Blake came to the ice house, he came out late. He walked in, Wisconsin guy, completely familiar with Pete Maina, and he was just like,
yeah,
there he is. I was at the gas station, and Pete pulls in with his Amsoil truck, his big wrap truck. And I'm like, there's Pete Maina. I'm like, there he is. It was just kind of that one of those moments where you're used to it because you're kind of out there working with those guys.
Yeah.
And, the whole day was
But it's still cool. I mean, I still appreciate
right.
that Maina is.
And there was kind of 3 shoots going on, essentially. So Northwoods Angling is doing a shoot because they're trying to helping out Pete Maina catch his first sturgeon through the ice. We're doing a shoot. We're trying to capture Pete Maina and Northwoods Angling and Alex Peric. And Alex is in a different house doing a shoot. And he's got a girl with him from Jersey. He's got his cameraman from Minnesota and his girlfriend. So they basically set up the two girls. I think this is on Alex's page now, or channel. You can see this show.
Yeah, Facebook page, YouTube channel.
Right.
So the thing that's really interesting is the fact that, you know, the whole time you're going, okay, YouTube is all about like collaborations as far as growing a channel.
It's networking and meeting people and
exactly. That's
feeding off each other.
That's one of the most important things about YouTube is if you want to grow a channel, you should collaborate with people. And if you can collaborate with a bigger channel, like what we're working on with Northwoods, Northwoods will help us grow by sharing, by basically plugging us and saying, hey, you should check out another fishing show when we do a video with them.
Yeah.
And that's what's going to be happening when they upload their video. But when you're working with a guy like Alex, who's got well over 300,000 subscribers, you're hoping that Alex comes on over to your tent, you know, and you get to interact with Alex.
It sprinkles that dust on here.
Sprinkles that, what do you call that dust? What is that?
That's just like subscriber dust.
Yeah. Yeah.
Viewership dust.
Yeah, it's special. We can't call it's angel dust? No, that's something entirely different.
And he's a sweet kid too. Like
absolutely.
He's easy to root for, and a lot of these guys are because they're really just kids that love to go fishing, and I keep calling them kids, but
I know
they are. They're college kids.
To us. It's all relative.
Yeah. But it's just like they're fun to root for because it's like, why not? Good for you. Like if I was able to do that as a kid, like record my own videos, edit them, upload them, give them to the world, and not have to sell anything to get it done. What a great way to deliver your goods.
It's such an interest, and I want to we're going to get back to that subject because it's so interesting. But Alex, Pete hooks up with a sturgeon. And Alex's cameraman comes, Sam Sobey.
Right.
I always hated that when, as a cameraman
Does
myself.
Not be called by name, just cameraman.
Well, Alex's cameraman. Someone like people would call me. Oh, this is Greg. He's someone's cameraman.
Right.
I'm like, I'm my own cameraman, dude.
Heard. And Sam, by the way, does a great job. You can see it when he watches those videos.
Sam does a great job as a videographer. He's a passionate fisherman.
Sweet guy.
And so Sam comes running over, and he's filming Maina's sturgeon. So I'm like, yes, Alex is going to put Pete Maina's sturgeon in his video, in Alex's video.
Right.
And then
I'm sitting behind Pete, just trying to stay in the frame.
I
think you were on the other side of that one.
Yeah, I was shooting. Yeah, I was shooting right. Everything, and I'm and I'm thinking, okay, Sam, I was going to say it. Sam, who's shooting for Alex Peric, okay, is shooting Pete Maina reeling in, fighting this sturgeon. So I'm like, Maina at least is going to get a plug, for his channel, right?
Right. If anything, they're going to want to put Pete Maina on, right?
Right. That's my thought there.
Mine too.
So the shoot is done. It's a couple days later, and we're waiting on pins and needles for Alex Peric to upload this video of this great sturgeon adventure. And then finally, I don't know, 3 or 4 days later, boom. I see it because we subscribe to Alex's channel. I get a notification. It's up, River. How did he title it? River dinosaur. I don't know. Everybody calls these things dinosaurs. Whatever he called it.
Right.
The video pops up.
But it's go time. Click, click, click.
Yeah. I'm watching this video with my wife, and I'm like, okay. So initially, when the shoots first started, we pull up, and here Alex has got. So I'm with Maina, and so Pete Wagner, Pete Maina, myself, we're all going to this encampment. Northwoods Angling is already out on the river, and Alex Peric is already out on the river with his group. We pull up, and as soon as we pull up, Sam, the cameraman for Alex, comes out and starts recording us. So I'm like, okay, here we go.
Yeah.
Rockin',
We're in the script.
Yeah, and so I go, it's so great. Look, Alex, Sam and Alex's girlfriend were like packing snow around we're like doing all this work, packing snow around the ice house, their ice house. Yeah. I'm like, Alex, what are you doing here? You've got it figured out, man. You have all the women do the work. Right. Some stupid comment like that, and Sam's filming me, I'm like, all right, man. And then I go, here, I say something. I go, we need to do that for another fishing show or something. Figure that out. Have our wives do whatever. I try to sneak in but anyway, so I'm thinking, so I'm watching the video with my wife, and I'm watching it. First of all, they never used my brilliant intro.
No.
And I'm being very sarcastic there.
They were barely outside the tent.
Yeah. And then
the fishing tent.
And I'm watching this whole thing. It shows Alex's girlfriend. I presume she was his girlfriend, right?
I am not sure.
Okay.
But anyway, they met online social networking somehow, and she is a fisher girl from the East Coast. And
so she's the one that caught she caught caught a sturgeon,
right? Was it Rebecca?
I believe that's right. She catches a sturgeon, and then their night is done in the video,
right?
And on to the next day, and I just started to sink. It's
really
like the
hit
wind.
You that hard?
The wind. I'm exaggerating a little bit, but the wind kind of went out of my sails a little bit. I wasn't expecting
a little bit. I tuned in not expecting to see us because I was just like, I don't even know if they're going to use it.
I wanted Maina's sturgeon to be in there at least, you know. But I get it, dude. Who knows the editing process? They've got to do a ton of videos. This isn't a criticism. I was just, deflated a little bit.
Right.
It's not that I'm criticizing Alex. It just, I understand editing and how this stuff happens. And dude, it's his prerogative, man. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I had a point. I forgot what my point was. I had this brilliant. It wasn't a brilliant point.
That you ended up in therapy. It sounds like. Was that your point?
No. It wasn't that. It wasn't that bad. But the cool thing about it is, today I actually got a text from Maina, and this was the coolest thing about it. I think it would be awesome if Alex and Maina did a video together, and I really wanted those guys to kind of connect.
Right.
And I got a text from Maina today saying that Alex and Maina and Alex Peric are gonna do a video together.
Right. And Pete's angle, he's trying to tap into that online scene. He's already covered everything as far as you can.
So here's the thing. I think with YouTube, I don't mean to cut you off. It might, if you ever feel like I'm
the host. I just throw some stuff out there, wait to get cut off, and then let you go.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So no, what Maina sees and what we see is this is a new, and the thing is that this has actually been going on for a while now. This YouTube phenomenon.
Yeah.
And part of the thing that's really interesting about it is that it's been kind of secretive. The fact that people are making good money on YouTube. Like,
right.
When did you learn that people were making good money on YouTube?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, Alex dropped out of college. He's like, you know what? Whatever job I'm going into, I don't think it's going to do as well as what this is on YouTube. And you kind of enlightened it to me recently. I wasn't tuning into any of it. And I still don't a lot,
Yeah, right.
If for me, I know what we do, and I know what we love to do, and I just like what we do. So I'm just, focusing on that all the time. But I was not aware of it. I wasn't watching it, and then all of a sudden we realized, like, well, if you look at how many people are locked into these guys, and then you crunch the numbers.
There's an audience there.
Right.
There's an audience on YouTube. There's a huge audience of fishing people on YouTube.
Alex started out with his friend John B. And John B was the first to blow up. He actually kind of got Alex into it. But what's John B have for subscribers?
700,000 plus subscribers.
He's got like 750,000 people that are all getting something in their inbox every time he posts a video, and that all translates into people watching it. So, Alex was just kind of on the fringe of it and was like, yeah, I think I can do this too. It's like, this is taking off. My buddy's doing it. And just like that. I mean, they're literally 2 high school buddies and they're 2 big dogs on the YouTube scene,
So, I've talked to Maina at length about this as far as the potential on YouTube, the fact that there's a fishing audience, a big fishing audience there. And yeah, a lot of them are young, but the great thing about that, I think it's great. To me, what's really interesting is that it seems when we were growing up, I grew up in California. I went to high school in California, elementary school, all that stuff. And fishing, I fished all my life, but it was like not really cool, right?
Right.
I thought it was the coolest thing to do, but it wasn't really cool to fish. YouTube and what's happening with fishing now, Instagram, and I mean, it really it really seems that young people seem to think fishing is cool,
And I think so.
Do you see that?
Well, I can't tell. I'm curious as to know, like we had alluded to before, how many of these people that are watching and subscribing are actually fishermen.
If you're telling me that you don't think a lot of his subscribers are fishermen, that blows my mind.
The majority is, but I can't figure out what that percentage is.
Right.
Even if it's 70%, and then you're talking about 100,000 people, like in John B's case, let's say, if it's 70-80% of them are fishermen, you still have 100,000 plus people that aren't fishermen that are tuning in.
That's incredible, man.
But that might not be the case, but I'm just curious. I don't know how you exactly figure that out. You get to see your demo, like you get to see male or female, age, geographic area,
right.
But you don't really know if these people fish. You do when you interact with them, but you're probably not interacting with the ones that don't fish because they're not asking specific questions or talking about the way they fish.
Well, it's fantastic if there's that many people that aren't fishing that are tuning in that might go, I might try this.
Yeah, there are some novelties out there. A lot of YouTubers will come up with sort of a ridiculous premise, fishing challenges, so to speak.
Right.
That kind of feeds into anything you see on YouTube, but I would think the majority of those guys are fishermen. And Alex kind of spoke of this a little bit, I mean, they're kind of not so much selling the fishing as they are selling themselves. Like, Alex feels like a friend to his viewers in a lot of way. They get to know the intricacies of his life and his personality and what he loves and doesn't love, and they kind of roll with him.
What he mentioned during this shoot was that, people that are on YouTube, that are watching YouTube, don't want to be hard sold. They don't want the commercials. They want people to cut through the BS. They want to see people just being real. It's like YouTube is basically the ultimate reality show.
Absolutely.
It's just cutting completely through the BS. And honestly, when we learned what was happening on YouTube, we were like, what in the hell is going on here?
Yeah.
Like YouTube chesty videos with 300,000 views. I mean, we were banging our heads against the wall.
It was kind of this slow awakening for us.
Right. But now we are getting it, and it's definitely, I don't think it's an exaggeration to call it a revolution, because it's a whole new way of watching content, of people to express themselves and to grow an audience that's never existed before. The fact that so many people that are on YouTube are young, is a positive, I think, for the platform. I think if they grew up with YouTube, it's going to be something that they're going to be like, well, I want this through my life. I'd see this as a legitimate platform. And
YouTube's not just on your computer or your phone anymore. It's sort of seamless with your televisions, and it's invading your living rooms.
It is, but, the thing with me that I'm really so impressed by is that you can watch it on a computer, you can watch it on a television, but the fact of the matter is, like, every one of us has a television in our pocket.
It's ridiculous.
A television in our pocket and also a video camera in the same device.
Not only a video camera, but a broadcasting station.
Exactly.
Literally, like we were broadcasting to the world our sturgeon fishing at the fall last year. And it's crazy. People jump in these rooms and they're like, hey, where are you guys from? You know, blah, blah, blah. And
yeah, the live video blows my mind.
it's bizarre.
It's just really impressive what's happening on YouTube. And I feel like we're finally getting it. And it's cool to work with a guy, you know, like Alex. And I just, you know, I'm excited about the future, Pete.
He crossed over the 250,000 threshold, and we crossed over the 1,000 threshold. And
250. He's three.
Was he 350?
Oh, he's got 376, 70. Can you tell I've been checking his subscriber count?
Yeah, you're basically stalking him at this point.
Yeah,
but it really did feel good for us just to get over 11 or 1,000.
Totally.
Like, because we'd been dealing with like Facebook and like Vimeo, and we were trying all these different we had different agendas like every month. We're just like, I don't know, it's just, you know, throw it against the wall, see what sticks, which is kind of what you have to do. And then you learn bit by bit by bit, and then all of a sudden we kind of got focused on YouTube, and we're like, well, listen, we just need to make this our bread and butter.
Right.
And then you have to start grinding it out because you can't use Facebook real effectively to turn that into a YouTube thing. So all these people we had on Facebook, you're begging them to go to YouTube now. And a lot of them are like, what's YouTube, believe it or not? I mean, if we have some older people on Facebook.
Right. There's more older people on Facebook.
They don't have a YouTube login. They can watch us, but they don't know how to subscribe, so not all that translates. So we kind of lost some ground there. We're kind of spinning our wheels a little bit, and now we're sort of reestablishing it where we're trying to get content up consistently, which is always the key with YouTube. And it's not easy to do, especially this time of year when fishing is just tough to do. It's wintertime, you know?
Come on, man. You're figuring it out.
I've actually had it, which brings me actually to a subject that I forgot to mention. Hold on, I got to throw my earbuds.
Oh my gosh! So yeah, so Pete, I said on the last podcast that I thought that Pete needed me to be with him to catch fish.
Right.
He's proven me wrong.
So I went out twice. I get to go out trout fishing. This is going to be going up on our YouTube page soon.
Channel.
Sorry. I had 2 hours to trout fish, and I got 30 fish or something. It was great, fun trout fishing. Have you watched any of it yet? I actually commented on the fact that you were giving me a hard time for not being able to catch fish.
Yeah, good.
Well, I was holding a fish.
But that has not been uploaded. Let's tease it. Pete had a hell of a day trout fishing, southeastern Minnesota. Fishing spinners.
Right. It was spinner fishing in the cold weather, but it doesn't freeze because it's spring-fed streams. It's kind of a unique thing around here.
And then he also went out recently on the St. Croix.
St. Croix. I had yet to catch my first sturgeon through the ice. I got to see Pete Maina do it. I got to see you do it. I got to see the Northwoods guys do it. They were literally using my fishing poles. Pete, I think, used my pole to reel in my Viking-themed ice fishing sturgeon rod, and he's a huge Packer fan, so this was very gratifying. And so I got out last Wednesday, which was only 3 days ago, and got not only my first sturgeon through the ice, but my first 4 sturgeon through the ice, including...
Yeah, you got 4, dude.
Including one that was almost 50 inches that I had hooked in the tail, and this is going to be great. I'll be editing this and getting it up in the next couple
we've
weeks.
got a lot of great content happening. You just hit your, you know.
Yeah, well, luckily I have a monitor here, so
that's nice. He hit his mic.
My mic is actually also a camera, and we only have one, so this is important.
Yeah. So Pete, he showed that he doesn't need me. He doesn't need me to catch fish. I'm happy for you.
I did comment it was way more fun when you were with me.
Oh, that's sweet, man. Thank you.
Thank you. I didn't want to bother you that Wednesday. And again, the sturgeon fishing closes next Wednesday, and I know you're going to be gone next week on a shoot, so Greg can't do this. He's essentially done sturgeon fishing for the year, which is kind of sad to say.
It is sad.
But I have next Wednesday, and I'm going out early, and I'm going to be out there for 10 or 12 hours. And yeah, it's something that it's more fun to have you in the house, but I didn't want to bother you because I knew you were editing our Eelpout Festival.
That's right. So let's talk about that.
Which Greg gets really chippy when he has to edit, and I, as well as I do when there's a lot of homework to do. So it's like call him up and say, "Hey, how's it going?" And by the way, when I was holding onto a sturgeon and I kept Facebook messaging you like a video messenger, and I couldn't get you to pick up
because I have my phone off.
Right. So I had the sturgeon's face like just sitting in the shot, and I was gonna just talk like I was a sturgeon.
Great.
Yeah. So
no,
you would.
no, I didn't need your nonsense. I'm trying to get our eelpout episode out the door.
You would have been so ornery. I would have just loved it. It'd be like, hey, Greg, how's it going? This is Sammy Sturgeon.
Yeah, I'm sitting in my basement in front of a computer for 15 hours.
Right. It really is torture.
Yeah. So let's talk about the eelpout.
You go down the
episode.
wormhole.
So the eelpout first we have to talk about the Eelpout Festival. Every year at the end of
what an eelpout is might be worth mentioning.
Let's go ahead. You're the fisheries biologist.
That's right. This is where I talk about the art form of fishery biology. So an eelpout is kind of a not very well liked fish in Minnesota. It's not in a lot of the lakes of Minnesota, but is actually a freshwater cod, the only freshwater cod in the world. Some people say they're ugly. I think they're amazing, but I'm like one of those fish nerds that finds all these rare sort of wacky fishes beautiful for my own purposes, I guess.
Touchy-feely. He's getting mushy.
Yeah, but for the most part, it's been you catch it through your ice hole, you throw it out on the ice and let it die.
And that's awful.
Drove me nuts. But
unacceptable.
So the International Eelpout Festival is...
The International Eelpout Festival is a festival held every February in Walker, Minnesota, and it's a festival honoring eelpout. Actually, it's a festival honoring drunk people.
Absolutely, and this is on Leech Lake, which is a famous fishing lake. In Minnesota.
But it's really, if you're a Minnesotan, it's something every Minnesotan should experience.
It really is.
What is it? 4 days. 4 days. It's a festival, but there's also an ice fishing contest for eelpout. Okay, so there's all different categories. Small eelpout, big eelpout, numbers of eelpout, total tonnage, that kind of stuff.
And they were getting over 10,000 people, setting up a city with indoor bars and extravagant ice houses where people sort of compete to be the most ridiculous fishermen.
Right, and it's really more than anything. It's a bunch of like people that have cabin fever, Minnesotans who have cabin fever that need to just release all their tension and just get drunk as hell.
Right.
Okay,
it's a cultural experience.
It's a cultural experience. I've seen probably the drunkest people on my earth. On my earth?
Yes. It is your earth as well as mine.
The drunkest people I've ever seen on earth at the Eelpout Festival.
Right. It was very zombie-like.
So what we did is, we just uploaded a feature episode. We call our most complex episodes feature episodes. The ones that shorten my lifespan.
The ones we put a lot of blood and sweat into.
Yeah.
Not only filming, but editing. It really gets... Yeah.
And so we just uploaded it. Pete and I shot the feature episode of the Eelpout Festival. We're calling that. Listen, I'm having a hard time like making thumbnails and titling our videos. I called this video "This Fish Smells Like a Litter Box."
Right.
Trying to get it's like clickbait. YouTube's
right.
a
Like,
totally
what?
different beast,
Yeah.
But it's like, oh, this fish smells like a litter box. I'm hoping someone will be like, what? Okay, I'm gonna click on that.
Like, is that a catfish? That would make the most sense, right?
Right. So anyway, we filmed this a year ago, okay? And we wanted to time it for the Eelpout Festival. So I've been busting my butt to get this thing uploaded.
Right. Eelpout Festival started Thursday, which was yesterday.
Yeah. So got it. Got the episode uploaded when the Eelpout Festival started, and we're getting good. You're getting a good reaction out of it, I think. You know, for us, I mean, we don't have a ton of subscribers, but we're getting good views out of it. For us, everything's relative, but it was that shoot in the beginning, that first night, dude, was maybe Pete and I kind of had a blowout. A bit. There was one, and I'm gonna be completely honest with it. We were hungover. Okay, we were tired, and the fish weren't biting. We had no idea what we were doing that first night.
We got there in the dark. Yeah,
and Pete had asked me something about the GoPro, and I was like, I remember this, and it was like, I said, well, yeah, about the GoPro, yeah.
It was
and you
when you ask the camera expert camera questions, sometimes you get a condescending response because he lives and breathes this stuff.
It's not something I'm proud of. Okay, I was embarrassed that I had that response,
and I don't even completely remember.
Well,
this,
you totally exploded on me.
It's not on camera though, right?
I would have used it if it was on camera.
Yeah, right. I guess that's a good point.
But and so that was like,
we're just tired and ornery.
And for the first time, Pete really in our lives, Pete really.
What? For the first time, I crossed the line.
Well, no, you didn't cross the line. I deserved it. What I'm telling you is, you really lit into me, but I deserved it. But I was like,
we were getting frustrated, you know.
You know, it was.
Well, that's the beautiful thing about being old friends. Like in 10 minutes, the whole thing just blows by. You know?
Yeah.
Well, in 10 minutes, and then a year later, I guess the wind blows it back in here. But
it's good to talk about.
Right.
You know,
we have to get this stuff out of the table.
Yeah.
We need to be able.
Therapy session.
We need to move on.
No. So I needed to tell that story because it was important, because there was a lot of adversity that first night.
Oh my God.
And we're going, okay, we put a lot of we've driven all the way up to Walker, and we got all the camera equipment, set everything. You got the hotel. We're going for it. It's like we
were trying to figure out.
We only have 2 nights.
We were trying to figure out how to sleep on the ice. Sometimes you can rent sleeper houses, and then we realized, well, you don't even catch the eelpout where the party is. I mean, you can literally hear a live band thumping through the ice. You know, doom, doom,
right.
Doom. And leading into this, we don't spoil this on the video, but I show up at Greg's house at like 7 or 8 o'clock, and the plan is, okay, we'll get to sleep. We're going to get up in the morning at like 6. We're going to be at the Eelpout Festival by 8, do a bunch of good filming before noon, and then we're fishing by 1, and we can fish into sunset, right? Well, Greg's in-laws happen to be at the house, and I basically walk into a 3-person party that exploded into a 4-person party. And I think I went to bed at 4 a.m. I remember I drank 7 or 8 beers, and I woke up on your floor next to a heater, and my head was like 300 degrees, and I was completely hungover. And I slept till noon, I think, on your floor.
Yes.
So we didn't even get to Walker till 5-ish, and it was already getting dark.
I don't even know if it was that early.
Right.
It might have been later.
We got to the bait shop before it closed, though.
Okay.
Yeah. So
it was nerve-wracking. We were so because here there's pressure on us to make we got to make something out of this.
Right. And you can maybe at a place like that not get a fish and have it be a pretty entertaining thing, but we want to fish.
Well,
we're always in the mode that we want to fish and catch a fish.
Yeah, and we were setting it up like, okay, we want to, we're going to compete in the Eelpout Festival, so we kind of needed at least one fish.
One, yeah, just to make it's an entry. Then you're in the contest, Otherwise, it's kind of like, all right, we just got really drunk and angry, and the credits roll.
The cool thing is that it's getting, I shared it on a bunch of anybody that's my friend on Facebook sees me sharing to all these Facebook groups have got to be like, oh, here he goes again. But it's getting a great response, and who knows? It's exciting. Maybe this will be one of our greatest videos as far as views.
And surprisingly, though, the best damn fishing float ended up being one of our more popular videos. We didn't even see it coming, but
episode.
It had the same kind of vibe to it because it was us sort of dealing with people that were just interesting. Like just interacting with people at those events. I think is a lot of fun.
Yeah, I agree.
And you had a good time with a lot of people there.
What? I have ADD. Just look at this. What is this? Show the.
Here, I'll show it right here.
Look at that. A mug that says another fishing show on it. I love that.
Yeah, my wife gave me that for Christmas.
Let's just keep that prominently displayed.
I just don't know how to get it on camera.
People
your
that
shot
are
is missing.
The people, this camera will see it.
I got this here.
Oh yeah, well. Yeah, we'll need to offer that. I'm sure a ton of people would buy that mug now.
If you're listening on iTunes, I'm sure that's a spectacular thing. Anyway, it's a sort of a...
It's another fishing show mug.
It's not really a mug. What do they call these things?
A thermos.
It's kind of a Yeti sort of stainless steel.
Right.
Right.
But that looks like maybe a Costco version of the
Yeti. It's not a Yeti. It's like it's a Betty or a Snetty or something.
Okay. Yeah, makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think that since we're talking about YouTube still, that we need to kind of bring up a bit of a sad subject.
Let's get serious.
We've been demonetized, Pete.
Yes, we have.
Our whole channel. Like, we had our bikini video that got demonetized.
Right.
Bikini Girls Ice Fishing with a Drone was demonetized because evidently YouTube thought that TNA, their advertisers don't want to advertise.
We get a little sassy.
Yeah. It's really not that risque. But anyway, but now our whole channel's been demonetized.
And for those of you that don't know, because I didn't know this not that long ago, monetization is something you can activate or deactivate on YouTube. So what that does is it turns on commercials, and then you get paid small sums unless you have a massive amount of subscribers. You can turn that demonetization off if you're not making a ton of money and you don't want to bother people with commercials, which is kind of handy. But YouTube put in a cutoff for what channels are available to turn on the money, if you will. And that cutoff was 1,000 subscribers, and it also related to watch time. What was the number?
You needed to have at least 1,000 subscribers and at least 4,000 hours of watch time in the last 12 months.
Right, and we had just crossed 1,000 subscribers, so we're like, hip hip hooray! We made the cut.
We're thinking,
we got some congratulations.
Oh, we got 4,000 hours of watch time.
Yeah.
No, we don't.
Yeah, no, it turns out we don't. And we don't care because we're not making any money right now.
We've never made a dime off our channel.
In fact, we've only lost money.
We've only lost money on this
We're
venture.
buying equipment. I have 2 duffel bags worth of cameras. I have this new MacBook Pro to, edit on. It's like a relentless amount of purchases going out to and again, I'm not complaining because I'm going fishing and I love just going out and fishing and filming.
So
anyway.
is this the part where we sound like Jim Baker and see if we can?
Yeah, we're gonna start selling food for the apocalypse. That's gonna be our next move, like food that fits in your coffee table for when the end of times comes. You can actually just another fishing show canister, unopen it, and then you get open it.
But before the end of days come, why not donate to our channel?
Why die with all that money?
Right.
Yeah, just pass it on.
Right, exactly. Makes perfect sense, right?
Yeah, and it's always been our goal to make something out of this, and we understand, like we explained earlier, it's sort of we reorganized multiple times because we kind of thought, okay, well, this isn't working. Where are we going to go with it now? And we're on the right track now, but monetization is something that you definitely need in the long run, but that sort of those figures that YouTube has thrown out to make you eligible for it, I think are fair. Like,
it doesn't really bother me
unless you have 10,000 subscribers. I don't even know if any of that's going to make any difference. It turns into a hassle almost. All of a sudden, you got to file your taxes based off of these checks from YouTube's.
Right. So, what I would be interested, I personally like the idea. I really, really like this model that I'm about to tell you. I like the idea of your fans, okay? People that enjoy your content going, you know what? This content is good content. It's enjoyable. I find it entertaining. I like what these guys are doing. I'm going to donate some money to them.
The kids are calling it crowdfunding.
Or YouTube calls it fan funding.
Right.
And why are you making a face like that?
That's because they can't call it crowdfunding.
Okay. Well, so crowdfunding. I personally, that to me is my favorite, I'll just call it model. Because what that allows you to do, you don't have to answer to anybody but your audience. What a concept. Okay? You don't have to pander to a sponsor. You only have to make your audience happy. You can completely be honest. And that I've always, pretty much since I got into video production, really wanted that kind of a platform.
Right.
So I think for us going forward,
one thing YouTube does, by the way, sorry to interrupt, is if you use a sassy word, sort of an expletive, YouTube just identifies that and cuts off your money.
Right.
So if you get a little sassy with it, somehow they identified bikinis without sort of hearing any audio.
It's really interesting how that all happened.
I don't know, because you think about the amount of video. I've heard the figures before, and it's like an amazing amount of videos being uploaded daily. There's not people sitting around watching this stuff.
So you know how there's face recognition now? YouTube has to have an algorithm that has like boob and butt recognition for our video, correct?
Absolutely.
Had to,
no. Like, oh my God, these girls are wearing swimsuits. This is, and it's kind of getting weird. It's kind of getting back to the old FCC days of, you know, people coming down
I
hard.
personally think all these algorithms do not. It's not good for society. It's not good for humanity. I think it's going to be our demise.
But corporations, in the end, are the ones that are dumping money into these videos because YouTube needs to keep those big advertisers, even though you're skipping them after 5 seconds. I don't know how that works.
Yeah, so
they still depend on them.
The biggest thing is for us. You know, I hate. You know, I'm not the kind of guy that likes to ask for money or anything like that. But I think in the future, it's not out of the. I mean, how do I say this? I don't think it's not a bad thing for us to. I'm not very articulate tonight. Maybe I'm never articulate. I don't know.
It is late.
But the thing is, it's like I don't think it's not cool if we provide us content, entertaining content.
It's a paid service.
Yes, if people, our subscribers, find what we do entertaining, I don't think it's. I don't necessarily have a problem with, hey, if you enjoy, hey, support us. You know, it's throw us. It's
an option, and it's like a vote for you.
And I guess we'd want to like to hear like what you guys think, right?
Right.
Like I mean,
so the upside,
the fact of the money, we're losing. You know, my wife, for example, she's probably I love my wife to that. But maybe your wife is thinking the same thing. These guys, when is this thing going to start generating some income?
Right.
They spend all this time. I mean, honest, this Eelpout Festival, these feature episodes, I swear I probably cut 5 years off my life making these things.
And you drove. This is a 4-hour round trip for you to come down and just do this podcast. Like, it's time and money that you're putting into it.
Yeah. So I think in the future, down the road, that it would be reasonable for us to, you know, maybe solicit. Hey, if you guys enjoy what we're doing, throw us a bone. You know.
I think it's important to point out that as our spotlight seems to be getting dimmer, I'm gonna probably grab another battery. That the upside to funding it like that, fan funding, if you will, is that we get to be who we are even more so. Like right now, we kind of walk the thin ice of, well, you don't want to swear, you don't want to drink your beers and have a little fun and be just who we are. You kind of have to back away from it and think about, is this going to affect our monetization, which is a really frustrating way to think about it. If we could just do what we do and have fun, it kind of separates us from the pack on YouTube because everyone's sort of following the playbook. And we can be who we are, and then you can vote for the fact that you like this because it's different by helping us out. And then that sort of keeps us rolling. We would love to have a second or third person, or a third or fourth person, rather, helping out with editing, someone behind holding a camera. There's a million ways that we could sort of bring better content that right now, when we shoot those videos, like I said, that Eelpout Festival, we shot that a year ago, and then we didn't really want to put it out in the summer, but it's just all these moving parts. You're just slowly grinding away trying to get it ready to actually get it to the air, and when it's just the two of us, it takes a toll on just life in general for you.
And the reality is we wouldn't be doing this if we didn't love it, you know. But the reality also is that at some point it has to at least, you know, we need to at least break even.
Right. And
at least.
Yeah, we're real people. In fact, I'm going to demonstrate how real we are right now. I'm going to actually grab a battery for the spotlight, just so we don't completely lose.
Sure. No, you need to be well lit. It's important that you're well lit.
Yes. So let me see if we have.
If
we had a third person.
Yeah.
Then
absolutely.
That guy would be putting in the battery right now.
Right. We don't. I mean, maybe one of your kids could do it, Pete. Wake them up right now. So there's only like a few, actually two real topics left, Pete. And one of them is, you know, we talked, I don't know, maybe this was 2 podcasts ago, about ridiculous fishing poses, ridiculous fishing pictures.
You're going dark.
Okay, we're going to go dark for a second. Just stand by on the video podcast. Stand by on the video podcast. So we talked about I don't know. What was this, 2 podcasts ago? Maybe it was the first podcast. Wow.
That's a whole different lighting scene, huh?
Yeah, we are lit. You want to shoot? You might want to shut that door there, Wagner.
Oh, I think it was the last podcast.
Yeah, it was. Maybe it was the last pod. Was it?
What was the?
The whole idea, anyway, was the fact of these fishermen on magazine covers, how they hold fish up, and there's these poses where they're just kind of ridiculous, right?
Well,
what do you call that? Why am I not explaining that better?
There's 2 things there. There's a pose, but more importantly, I believe, is the face. It's like the look.
Is it it's an intensity?
Yeah, it's like, I don't like you, fish, or fish.
I've been working my whole life to catch you.
Yeah, and I totally just
kicked your ass.
I outsmarted you by understanding your habits and how you live underwater. Even though I never actually went underwater, I was able to get a fake lure, trick you into biting it, bring you to the surface, and now stare at you very closely.
I'm like a lake commando.
Right. It's like it's an extra serious, burning look. Some guys are smiling, and we talked about this. Like, if you smile, then it makes it look like, wow, I've never caught a fish before. This is awesome. You
don't want that.
You can't smile.
You gotta look like you do this all the time.
Like, if this is a fish, you want to just be like this.
So tell the audience what happened today. Where you found something.
Yeah. So I have a store with a magazine rack on it, and it's like Christmas morning for me when the new fishing mags come rolling in. Not because I read them, because the covers are all lined up in one big row. So right now, the seasonal bass stuff is coming out. The pike episode, or not episodes, but issues. And then we get this wide range in fishermen, field and stream, outdoor. Some of them are hunting, but they sometimes have fishing covers. Those are usually the best fishing covers. But today, I was enlightened to a new magazine.
This is a beauty right here.
And this one is known as the Badger Sportsman. For those of you not familiar, a badger is a Wisconsin sort of mascot, the Badgers.
It's a mammal. It's
a mammal, but it's also a mascot, all right? So, and we had also talked about the dead fish on the ice shot. I think
this has got all of it.
This has got everything. So, if you take a look on the GoPro here, you'll see there's a lot going on here, okay? So, first off, what's the guy? Okay, so he's palming the sunfish, and I'll let you look at this in a second. I just want to make sure everyone can see it. He's palming the sunfish.
No, I get it. Make sure you got to make sure they see it, because I got this implanted and printed on my memory.
This is going to be scanned and is on the screen right now. They can see it as clear as day. Okay, I'm showing this to you now. So what's going on here? He's palming the sunfish. Right, so he's like holding it, and also the lift of the rod, like he's pointing the rod directly at the fish. Right, so there's no reason to be holding the rod over your head.
No, you can have the rod tip.
You can have the rod tip down by his chest.
You can have the rod tip 24 inches from that fish. That rod tip is like 6 feet away from the fish.
Right, and he's not even using the rod. He's just like lined to the reel. Not that.
He's making this look way more difficult than it is.
Right. And it's fabulous for so many ways. So then you'll see the various dead fish, because obviously he knows how to catch a lot of fish, because they're all dead on the ice around him, which, never makes for a good picture.
He's got one of those gas augers. So
got a gas auger.
He's a little, but what I do appreciate about this gentleman is that he's not using a flasher. So he's not all that backwards.
I didn't even notice that. And the Frable hat,
he's definitely a Frable angler.
Frable.
He's Frabled out, man.
Right. And I just don't understand, like, what would make you see this and then get you thrilled about fishing?
Well, because let me see this for a second.
In my apologies to this gentleman, I'm sorry that we had to give you your moment of fame. I know you just had one. It probably
You
is
really
not
think
as,
he's going to be famous from this podcast?
well, he was famous just from being on the Badger Sportsman. Is that what that's called?
Well, to me, he's making bluegill fishing look way more intense than it is.
Okay, and
The fact that he has his rod tip up that high, I'm trying to. I mean,
I have another question. All right, so you can see Badger Sportsman here. So what do you think this is? Is that like their mission statement? But what could it possibly be?
it's important enough that
far from something experience.
Well, shouldn't there be a space in between?
Yeah,
here?
it just says far from.
Well,
and then there's another word run into it too, because there's a letter after the M.
I don't know. Maybe that's a Wisconsin thing, but it's not
Yeah,
that.
you mean poor education?
Oh,
That's
it's like
definitely
far
Wisconsin.
from Nugent. Remember Far from Nugent? It's something like that. But I guess this cover is an atrocity.
It really, really.
Maybe that's a bit of an exaggeration.
It's not, but I know what you're saying. Though.
It's everything that drives. It's everything that drives me nuts about fishing.
And I wouldn't know how to make a great fishing magazine cover. Admittedly, like if somebody was like, "All right, I'll give you $50,000. Go shoot me a great fishing cover." You know,
I don't think that anybody should be in the fishing magazine business anymore. Just in general.
Yeah,
Here, okay, so here's this. We can go off on a whole.
You would love the articles, by the way.
I'm sure I would. Here's kind of the revolution that's happened in the last few years. Is that this thing right here? The information in here, all this stuff, paper. This is going to be like the dodo bird. It's basically already the dodo bird, the dinosaur.
Yeah.
You can get all of this information for free now. You don't need this.
Not only that,
I just tried to flick it came right back in my lap. I tried to throw it. I didn't want to because I didn't want to break something.
You
back
can't
here,
get rid of the Badger Sportsman. That's your problem. But you can literally like Google a body of water and see somebody fishing where you're probably going to be fishing the next day, catching what you want to fish, and see how they're doing it.
That's right. This right here. Here's the other thing too about this. Okay, this. Did you see the back of this? Okay, so this right here is trying to make bluegill fishing, and I'm not knocking bluegill fishing, but this is trying to make it like an athletic sport. Okay, it's not an athletic sport. This isn't bluegill fishing is not an Olympic sport. Okay?
It almost looks like he's shooting pool.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, totally. Totally. But you could superimpose a pool stick right here. A pool
he's
cue.
like sunfish in your corner pocket.
Yeah. The other thing here that I just noticed is this drives me nuts. You can in the back cover we have a Mills Fleet Farm ad, and it's got a guy holding up a walleye. Okay, let me tell you, Mills Fleet Farm, anybody with any kind of sense or a fisherman is gonna a real fisherman, I would say, is gonna know right off the bat that walleye is mounted.
And look at how happy that guy
You're going to want to scan that too. And
that is a mounted walleye.
That's a mounted walleye. Shame on you, Mills Fleet Farm.
Look at how he's holding on to it.
It's awful.
He's grabbing a rock hard walleye. He's trying to figure out how to
He's grabbing the part where you actually hang the walleye on the wall.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying?
And he's completely thrilled because he's like, oh my God, I can't believe someone left a mounted walleye on this ice for me to pick up and put my hand in the
Shame on you, Mills Fleet Farm. Find a better advertising agency that doesn't have their head up their ass.
What does it say? What's the motto there?
Another one of my pet peeves in fishing. There's some really good advertising agencies in fishing that actually get fishing, no fishing. Whoever did this, shame on you.
Yeah.
This is awful.
And they're based in like Bemidji, Minnesota.
Oh,
they have no excuse.
Yeah, no excuse.
They have no excuse, but
Pete,
that's beautiful. Oh, hold on, we have to. Were you just going to end this podcast?
Well, no. You go ahead. Anything
I was going to allude to the fact that we were going to wrap up this podcast, but we kind of left you with a cliffhanger last podcast. Gull Lake, Brainerd, Minnesota, biggest ice fishing contest in the world. So they say. They got the $150,000.
It's amazing that the ice holds all these people.
It's kind of crazy, yeah. It like defies physics. And not only that, but there's like, they're giving away pickup trucks and four-wheelers and, huge cash prizes, random cash prizes. You can be in 30th place and get it. But the top 5, there's a truck, there's some big cash, and then like $1,000 is third place. So there was a family from Ohio, apparently a very sketchy family, according to the officials at the JC's Brainerd ice fishing contest. So just to recap real quickly, a guy wins the entire tournament with a 3.10 pound northern pike, right? Well, his son, I believe, it might have been 2 brothers and a dad, however it worked out. One of the other ones won 3rd place. So first place was the pickup truck. 3rd place was $1,000 and like an ice auger. That was like a 2.98 northern pike, right? The 3rd person in their group took 98th place with a 1 pound perch. Part of the drama, well, I guess initially all the drama came from, and this is not the first time this has happened. This story just fascinates me. They questioned the validity of these people winning it, and you have to agree. I mean, this is just like fishing in Minnesota. You just can't believe it. When you enter the contest, you have to agree if you're going to claim your prizes, you might have to take a lie detector test. And this all became from a guy 5 years ago who's actually busted, brought a fish with him, big fish, and ended up winning the tournament by a long shot, and then did it again like 3 years later, and they're like, wait a second, this doesn't seem right. And Gull Lake is kind of a recreational lake these days. We talked about last week, it was like 80% of the fish were registered were tulibies, which is kind of just a bait fish.
Right. It's a forage fish.
More or less. And so the perch that was caught, part of the reason they were suspicious about the perch, and this is 98th place, when the DNR was netting perch out there, they didn't catch one bigger than 1.10 pounds, which even that's kind of funny. I mean,
it is
a pound and a half perch is not that uncommon, is it?
It is interesting that I'm now understanding this story a little bit better. That there's this,
but this
group.
is the 98th place guy, and I don't even remember what his prize.
But it was the same group.
It was inconsequential, right? So. And then not every question has been answered. So they were questioned, they were smeared, essentially, and they were upset. And they took the lie detector test. We didn't know this last week or 2 weeks ago whenever we did our podcast. And they actually passed the lie detector test. They said they detected no deception. Like how much more can you split hairs with this stuff? And some of the questioning was, because last week we were like, our last podcast, well, where was the red flag raised? Because the guy won with a 3-pound northern. It wasn't like, hey, I got a 12-pound northern and no one's even close, He caught a 3-pounder. His buddy caught a 3-pounder. They had a witness that saw them catch the fish through the ice that didn't have any, he had nothing to lose or gain by it. So why were you smearing these guys in the
Because they caught the biggest perch that had ever been recorded in Gull Lake
for 98th place.
Right. But the fact that that's why that was the red flag. I'm telling you right now.
Well,
that was the.
Maybe it was. I mean, that was.
Listen, I don't know what the situation. I
want to know.
I want to know as well, but we're not going to know, Pete.
No,
we got to let it go. Dude.
How about you and me? Get one of those officials on our podcast.
That's a great idea.
And interview them.
Yes, let's do it.
Like, I wonder if there's legalities there to how much they can actually say or how much. Because I would love to know the insider of everything, or even the witness. I would love to talk to a witness and say, what did you see? And just like pieces, like overanalyze it for the next 6 months. Every podcast, different guests.
I think it's a great idea.
Finish every podcast with the Gull Lake scandal.
I love it. We can 2018 can be like that's what we talk about. One of the topics. That could be like a series.
If in another series we could do, not to get too far off track, would be that there was a scandal about leaving trash on the ice.
Yes, for sure.
I would love to have witnesses about.
That's been a really big topic this winter. But I want to go back to the Gull Lake controversy, that contest. I suspect that what is happening in some of these big ice fishing contests, there is probably some foul play going on.
For a pickup truck, I mean, think about that.
There's a lot, exactly.
$40,000.
There's a lot. There's any fishing contest. There's been there's been a ton of bass fishing tournaments where there's been cheaters. Okay,
right.
There's a certain population of these guys that are going to be cheaters.
Right.
Okay?
And if you have 15,000 people there, or whatever it is, it only takes 2 or 3 guys.
I suspect that there could be a group, and I'm not saying that this is the case for the Gull Lake dudes.
Are you going to reference some sort of ice fishing cheating Illuminati right now?
I'm going to call them ice fishing gypsies. Yes. So here's my grandpa Underdahl talked of stories when he was young.
When he was scuba diving and would see fish that were as large as
I'm
a pickup
talking
truck?
about gypsies, Pete.
Okay. Sorry.
The town that we grew up in, 700 people, okay? Back in the day, my grandpa Underdahl would talk about gypsies coming through
Walter
town.
Underdahl talking about this.
And man, like people would see him coming from a distance. Where we used to live, it was flat, you know.
Hobos were also another term, but
These gypsies were different.
Yeah, they were.
And so the townspeople would see these gypsies coming, you know, from miles away, and all of the town would just close up.
Right.
Because these gypsies would come in and they just, you know, they had a reputation for stealing things,
right.
you know, and just
Shoplifting
shenanigans,
right.
and, you know, I mean, the whole town. And so I suspect.
It's like an Andy Griffith episode.
Totally. You know? I suspect there could be these guys, these groups, Illuminati, whatever you want to call it, Pete, that travel from the Eelpout Festival has similar things kind of going on.
Right.
People traveling from distances coming to the Eelpout Festival to
Can you
compete.
imagine like going to a separate body of water and then bringing your eelpout back and registering it?
I can't imagine doing something like that.
That would be ridiculous.
That would be ridiculous.
You know, they do it tongue in cheek there because they claim that your eelpout has to take a lie detector test. That's
right.
literally in the rule book at the International
The reality
Eelpout
is, I mean, these ice fishing contests are pretty laxed. Okay, yeah, they have the Gull Lake thing. They got a.
But then how do you regulate that?
They have a polygraph examiner, but the polygraph is not admissible in court. Okay,
right.
So
and what DNA testing of the perch for
So all I'm saying is, my point is that there is some. There's some areas of exploitation that
the door is open.
The door is open.
Even if you don't fish, I mean, if you can carry a fish in a cooler and show up at a fishing contest, you can roll out of there in your GMC truck if you can pass a polygraph.
We should definitely see if there's kind of this underground kind of like ice fishing or just fishing gypsy thing going on. I think there could be. Maybe we do a feature episode on it.
That's the real video or the real interview. If you could actually interview guys that have cheated on ice fishing contests.
We'd have to do it with, their face would be like, we'd light it in a way that they're backlit. You can't see their face.
We could just...
And then their voice would be like, rah, rah, rah,
yeah.
you know, like a...
if they were just on the phone, I would be fine.
You can do that on any editing software now. Just easily augment their voice.
Can you imagine how great it is? Well, we will look into the getting an official on the phone.
I think so, for sure.
I think that's something we need to do because we're trying to integrate phone calls into our podcast. I would love to do live calls because I really am desperate for, second-to-second interaction with people because I really think that's just helpful in a million ways.
I agree.
Interesting, too.
Yes, for sure.
But it's a tough thing to set up because going live is almost impossible with any production on it. But second to that, we're trying to figure out, and we have the equipment actually already, but we had enough problems tonight just trying to get this stupid setup going. Taking calls so we can interview people, even if they're professional fishermen or professional cheating fishermen or just some sort of polygraph guy that had to actually administer a polygraph test to 3 Ohio guys with mustaches trying to prove that they weren't cheating in a fishing
I would love
contest.
to.
Wouldn't that be so great?
It would be absolutely great.
So with that being said, we wrapped up with Gull Lake last week. I think we're going to wrap up this week the same way. Are you? Do you have anything to add to?
No, I think I think Another Fishing Show podcast number 4 was a lot of fun. I hope
it went well.
Subscribers are just first of all, if you subscribe to Another Fishing Show, thank you. If you're watching this and you've subscribed, thank you. We hope that you've enjoyed the podcast. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe.
Please.
And we're going to, Pete, let's just send them off.
All right.
Sign it off, Pete.
All right. Well, we would like to...
We've already told them to subscribe, so I don't know how much more there is to say.
Well, I'm sure a lot of people appreciate that your shot wasn't included. I think a lot of people probably benefited from not getting a close-up of your face.
But one thing that is a little... Do you notice I got a haircut?
It almost ended. No, I didn't.
Yeah, so I am kind of disappointed that people don't.
You didn't get to see your haircut.
I got a new haircut. It's getting crazy.
So I apologize for not having a GoPro there, and apologize for having to change the light partially. We get rambling, and all of a sudden we run through a battery, and now we know.
That's amateur style. We need to get that fixed next podcast.
You can't plug that in, so yeah. And then, but with that being said,
maybe you should have thought about that before you bought that light.
Keep an eye out for these podcasts showing up on YouTube. Spotify, iTunes, anywhere you can get your podcasts. We're going to be launching just the audio versions of these podcasts coming up soon. If you want to see us, please watch on YouTube, but we'd love you to listen to it any way you can. And thanks for listening, and check out the Eelpout Festival episode, and we have more stuff coming down the pike in the next couple of weeks here. So thanks for listening, everybody, and we hope you have a good night. We are going to bed, and thanks for listening.